My name is Laura, and my story begins on a seemingly ordinary day, in what I thought was going to be the start of a peaceful life. My husband, Mark, and I had just moved into a luxurious two-bedroom apartment in the heart of the city. It was everything we had ever wanted: spacious rooms, a modern kitchen, and floor-to-ceiling windows that offered breathtaking views of the skyline. This was supposed to be our sanctuary, a place to build our future. "So, what do you think?" Mark asked, wrapping an arm around my shoulders as we stood in the living room. His eyes sparkled with excitement. "It's perfect," I replied, genuinely smiling. After months of house hunting and debates, this apartment felt like a dream come true. "I can't believe we get to call this place home." As we started unpacking, I noticed Mark's phone buzzing incessantly on the kitchen counter. Curious, I glanced at the screen. Mom was displayed repeatedly in the notifications. Mark had always been close to his mother, Diane, but her constant need to be involved in every aspect of his life had always bothered me slightly. I decided to ignore it and continued arranging the shelves. Later that evening, as we sat down to a takeout dinner, Mark finally brought up the subject. "By the way, my mom's planning to come visit us this weekend," he said casually, avoiding eye contact. I paused mid-bite. "Visit us? Here?" "Yeah, she's excited about the new place and wants to see how we're settling in." Though I wasn't thrilled about the idea, I nodded. "Sure, it'll be nice to have her over." The weekend arrived faster than I expected. Diane showed up in her usual extravagant style, carrying bags of homemade food and trinkets. At first, everything seemed pleasant. She complimented the apartment, shared some family stories, and even helped me rearrange a few things. But as the day wore on, her presence became more invasive. "This sofa is nice, but don't you think it's too modern?" she remarked, running her hand over the fabric. "You should have consulted me before buying it." I forced a smile. We liked it, so we went for it. Mark, as usual, stayed silent, letting his mother's remarks slide without acknowledgement. I brushed it off, assuming it was just her personality. Little did I know, this was just the beginning. Over the following weeks, Diane's visits became more frequent. Sometimes she would bring Mark's sister, Beth, along. Beth had recently gone through a rough divorce and had moved back in with Diane. Her bitterness and sharp tongue made every encounter uncomfortable. "So, Laura, do you even cook for Mark? Or do you just order takeout all the time?" Beth sneered one evening, her eyes scanning the leftover boxes on the counter. "I cook when I can," I replied calmly, though her tone stung. Mark's response was a weak laugh. "She's busy with work, Beth. Give her a break." But his words did little to ease the tension. Diane and Beth's presence was beginning to feel less like visits and more like invasions. Then one evening, the unthinkable happened. Mark came home looking unusually anxious. "We need to talk," he said, sitting down across from me at the dining table. "What's wrong?" I asked, my stomach tightening. "Mom and Beth are moving in with us." I blinked, certain I had misheard. "What?" "It's just temporary," he hurried to explain. "Beth's been struggling since the divorce, and Mom's worried about her. They need a place to stay for a while." "Mark, this is our home. How can you make such a huge decision without even asking me?" He rubbed the back of his neck. "I know, and I'm sorry. But it's family. What was I supposed to do?" Anger simmered beneath my skin, but I managed to keep my voice steady. "You could have talked to me first." Despite my protests, Diane and Beth moved in that weekend, bringing with them an overwhelming amount of baggage, both literal and emotional. The apartment that once felt spacious now felt suffocating. Diane took over the kitchen, rearranging everything to her liking. Beth monopolized the living room, often sprawled across the couch with her laptop and snacks. It was as if I had become a guest in my own home, One night, as I was cleaning up after dinner, Diane approached me with an envelope. "Here," she said curtly, placing it on the counter. I frowned, opening it cautiously. Inside was a check for $5,000. "What is this?" "Severance money," she replied, her tone devoid of emotion. "Take it and leave. We'll take care of Mark." I stared at her in disbelief. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious. You've done nothing but disrupt our family dynamic. This is the best solution for everyone." Anger and hurt twisted in my chest, but I forced myself to stay calm. "I'm not going anywhere." Diane's lips curled into a smug smile. "We'll see about that." From that moment on, the atmosphere in the apartment became unbearable. Diane and Beth's passive-aggressive remarks turned into outright hostility. Mark, caught in the middle, withdrew further into himself, offering little support. But I wasn't going to let them win. I began documenting everything: the insults, the invasions of privacy, the financial strain they were causing. I needed leverage, a way to reclaim my life and my home. Then, one day, an opportunity presented itself. My father, a retired lawyer, called to check in on me. I hesitated before spilling everything. "Dad, I don't know what to do. They're driving me insane." "You have rights, Laura," he said firmly. "That apartment is in your name, isn't it?" "Yes, but—" "No buts. If they're making your life miserable, it's time to take action." With his guidance, I formulated a plan. Over the next few weeks, I quietly gathered evidence of their behavior. I recorded their derogatory comments, took pictures of the mess they left behind, and documented every instance of them overstepping boundaries. When I finally confronted Mark with everything, he was stunned. "I didn't realize it was this bad," he admitted, looking genuinely remorseful. "It is," I said firmly. "And it's time we do something about it." Together, we sat down with Diane and Beth. I presented my evidence calmly but firmly, making it clear that their behavior was no longer acceptable. "If you want to stay here, there need to be boundaries," I said. "This is my home, and I will not be treated like an outsider." Diane scoffed. "You think you can dictate terms to us?" Beth rolled her eyes. "This is ridiculous." But Mark surprised me by standing his ground. "Laura's right. Things need to change, or you'll have to leave." The tension in the room was palpable, but for the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. It wasn't going to be easy, but I was determined to reclaim my home and my peace of mind, no matter what it took. Days turned into weeks as the new rules were reluctantly followed. Diane and Beth, though outwardly cooperative, still found ways to needle at me with snide remarks and subtle sabotage. Yet, I felt stronger, knowing that I had drawn a line. Mark continued to stand by me, his newfound resolve surprising even himself. Then came an evening that changed everything. Beth, frustrated by the restrictions, decided to throw a party without our consent while we were out for dinner. We returned to find strangers sprawled across our apartment, music blasting, and the place in disarray. "What is going on here?" I demanded, my voice trembling with anger. Beth sauntered over, a drink in hand. "Relax, Laura. It's just a little get-together." "Get-together?" Mark's voice rose, startling everyone. "This is our home, not some frat house." Beth shrugged. "Maybe you should loosen up. Mom's fine with it." I locked eyes with Diane, who was sitting in the corner, sipping wine. She smirked but said nothing. My patience snapped. "Everyone out, now!" I yelled, my voice cutting through the chaos. There was murmuring, but the guests began to leave. Once the apartment was empty, I turned to Beth. "This is the last straw. Pack your things. You're leaving tomorrow." "You can't make me leave," she shot back defiantly. Mark stepped forward. "She can, and she will. I'm done with this nonsense." The following morning, Beth and Diane left, their pride visibly wounded. The apartment finally felt like ours again, and though the damage took time to repair, I knew we had won a hard-fought battle. Mark and I rebuilt our life, stronger than before, and I finally found peace in the home I had fought so fiercely to protect.